What's happening, guys? For this lecture, we're going to look at Happy Birthday now. The reason why is because the melody is going to work according to another key. For Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, we looked at the key of C. There were no sharps or flats. For this one, we're going to look at another one, which is right next to it in the circle of fifths, the key of G. Now, I wanted to take a look at this key as something different from the key of C because it's also very, very common. And there's a large distance from the key of G to the key of C. It's a fifth apart, basically. So I thought it would be important to look at the guitar fretboard from another perspective when it comes to reharmonizing this. So let's take the melody for starters. For the key of G, we have the melody at... Okay, so that's the first bar right there. Now I'm playing the 3rd fret to the 5th fret on the 2nd string, and then that's going to be 3-2 on the 1st string. Now, in the same way that we went through the beginning levels of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, I want you to explore with me how we can play this melody over different areas of the fretboard. For example, this is 1st position right here. We know we can also do open 1st string instead of 5th fret 2nd string. Now what if we brought it to, we have a D note right here, which is the 1st note. Another example right here at a middle position on the guitar neck. That's going to be 7 to 9 on the 3rd string. And then 8-7 on your 2nd string. Now we also have a D note up here on the 4th string. But as we looked at in the last song, we don't want to create too many melodies on the strings that are closer to the top larger strings because we have no room to create chords beneath that. It would have to just be a power chord. That'd be interesting. In that key right there, we could create a G right here. We have the 1 and the 3, G, B. So that's an idea, but we're not going to do that because we're limiting ourselves. But if you did want to play the melody, you have... So what you could technically do is, we could do it on 1 string, the 3rd string maybe. But that means we only have 3 strings to work with as far as creating chords behind that. So we're going to stick with, of course, for the beginning level, we're going to stick with the more open positions. Now, what are the chords? What is the progression? We're going to start with our 1 chord, which is obviously G. So we start with, all right, now we want to make the E in the singing voice as we play G behind it. Well, check this out. I can straight up just do this. I can go back to my D note right here. This works right here. Your D chord, the 5 chord, which is what we're going to, is going to contain the F sharp in the singing voice. And my finger placement for this one is I have my 3rd finger playing the 3rd fret of the 2nd string for the melody. That enables me to use my 1st and 2nd finger to create the G chord, how we usually do it, while not using my 3rd finger for that note right there. I'm playing the open 1st string right here, which is going to be the 6th in the G chord. Then I place this finger down to create the 3rd fret on the 2nd string for the melody. Then I can take my pinky to play the G note, and that'll be on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. And we have D right here. Now what about other ways to play it? Because we looked right here. Okay, how would I create a G chord behind this E note? Well, let's take a look at the cage system, shall we? We have G here, G, E position, and then we're going to go to our D position. So this is getting close to the note. We have the note right here. That wouldn't be ideal though. I think a better way would be, let's go to the next letter in the cage system, C, A, G, E, D, C. Here's our C form for G. So we could typically go, that's an idea, because you have the 1 and the 3, G, and then B. That's an idea right there. Okay. Now what if you did that? We could create, if we wanted this to be in the singing note, let's see, we could do that as well. We have the 1 and then the 3, G, B. So, and then for here, we'd want a D behind this. Well, I know I can play right off the bat this shape. That's our F sharp in the singing voice, and that works perfectly for this chord shape. This is the A form for the key for the D. We have D, and then we could do the C shape right here. And that actually has the singing voice in there too. So you can do that works as well. And then the A shape right here works perfectly. What about the G shape? What would that be? Right here. You know how the G chord usually looks like this, but a little high on the singing voice, so we could just do this right here. Use our pinky and third finger to take the bass notes and just play up to the second string, down to the second string. So, we can do, alright, there's a couple ways right there. So what about the next bit? Da, 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 da. Well, we're going to stick on the 5 chord, the D. There's a very simple way right there using open chords. I lifted up my second finger on the D chord so I can play the E in the singing voice instead of the F sharp. That's a way. And that's going to be a D suspended 2 chord. That could totally work. Those are really pretty chords. I followed the singing voice to the A, G. What about over here? We could do, there's a D power chord. We could play this right here. This is going to be the G shape for the D again. So you'd have to use your second finger to hit that 9th fret for the singing melody. That would be the 9 in the D major chord. Okay. And then you have to switch your fingers up a little bit. You could play the C shape for the G chord. You could go back and play the D shape for the G chord. You could even play the E shape, and you have the singing voice on the first string, or you could simply play open G shape. So there's numerous ways you could do that right there, considering the melody is containing the G, which is basically all in the chord of G. Pretty cool. I like it. So there's our 2 positions for the next bar. Now, here's why I picked the key of G, because we're going to go way up here. We're going to do a whole octave right here. So what would be more practical? Instead of just doing the first chord right here and then going all the way up here, why don't we keep it up here? We could do D right here to get that octave shape. Keep it in close proximity. So I'm not going to play a chord there. And then for this chord, I'm going to see how I can create a G chord beneath this. There we go. We have a triad on the top 3 strings. Could continue go down to the A shape. That's really practical. Or I could do, alright, and what's this here? Well, this is playing a G triad, starting with first inversion, because I have the 3, the B, I have the D, and then the G. 3, 5, 1. And then I could place singing melody on top of that. And that works really nicely too, because I can pull off to barring the 7th fret. And then even hit the 8th fret on the 2nd string for the G in the singing melody. Alright? So, and then we also had the A shape, which was practical. So that works too. Perfect. What about if you wanted to do way up here, for example? Try to figure this out with me. How would you create a G behind this? You have a G here. And then, there you go. You can create your G triad with the strings below the 2nd string. We have a G in 12th fret, a D on the 12th fret. This is 3rd and 4th string, and then your 3rd, the B, on the 14th fret of your 5th string. And then if you want to get crazy, you could literally do a G chord right here, which is the same thing as this. But you're getting used to barring now. But that might be a little bit tricky for some of you, especially in the first stage, right? Alright. After this, we're going to go to a 4 chord. What would that be in the key of G? 1, 2, 3, 4. C. So we're only using 1, 4, 5 in this song, by the way. G is our 1, D is our 5, C will be our 4. Okay, so for this bit, after playing this measure, we're going to go to our 4 chord, our C. The singing melody is going to be an F sharp. That's not in the chord of C. In the chord of C, we have C, E, G. So fitting in the F sharp is going to be a bit of a modification. I can already tell you this is how I do it in open position. I have a C chord, C triad, beneath the melody that is created on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. I can play my C, my G, and my E, right? 3, 5, 1. So that's C in 1st inversion. And then I have my F sharp right there. And what's the technical term for this one? Well, this is going to be the 3, right? The F sharp is going to be the 4. It's going to be like a sharp 4 in the key of C. So that's your technical term, would be like add 4, or I think sharp 13, add sharp 13, which is cool. So you can do that there, and then pull off to E, which is in the C chord. Alright, technically, if you wanted to get crazy, you could have C in the root. You could play your C chord like this, having your pinky on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, so you can use your 3rd finger to play the melody. 2nd fret, 1st string, then open. Alright? Cool. What about another way? If we're going to do this position right here, we're going to do the melody on the 2nd string. Right? How do I create a C triad in the strings below that? We have a C here, G, and then E. There you go. That's how I do it right there. And that's building off the G shape. So I could go right there if you want to get crazy with it. So we had... Alright, that's cool too because we have 1st inversion for this chord, for our 5 chord, our D, and then we have 1st inversion for our C chord. And that's the same as this. So 2 ways to play it. What if you wanted to play on the 3rd string? How do you create a C triad in the top 3 strings? Good question. We have E, G, C. That's a practical way right there. A little bit trickier because then you have to stretch to the E in the melody note on your 4th string, and that's the 14th fret. But it still works. It's thinking critically, right? Kind of like a puzzle with this whole reharmonizing, arranging thing. Getting you to look at it in so many different ways, different positions. So this really expands your mind when it comes to learning the fretboard. That's the real goal here for you. So, what about the last bar? What's the melody? 1st string, it's going to be 8, 7, 3, 5, 3. The chords behind it are going to be the 1 chord. That's going to be a G. Then we're going to do a 5 chord over that note, the A note, and then back to G. So how would we play a G right here below this? Well, 7th fret, 1st string. How do we create a G triad in the 3 strings below it? We have G, then we have a D, that's going to be 1, 5, and then we have our 3, the B. And we used this chord before, remember? So we could do da, 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 da. That works. Alright. You could even add in the pinky for the root note. What about D position right here? You can make it more practical by doing your 3rd finger. That way you can snag the D shape right there. That works. And then, what's that chord? Well, I'm kind of just playing my open D chord right there, and then hitting the A in the singing melody right there. That's actually a D power chord, a D5. I don't have a 3 in that one because I'm trading the 3 for the A in the singing melody. So I could do this right here. I could do the A shape or the C shape. I could create a D triad beneath it like this, and then hit that right there, the 5th fret in the 1st string, and that's the same as that shape right there. That's the exact same shape. And finish with your whole G chord. So that's a way. That's building off the C chord right there, the C shape in the cage system. So yeah, and then like I was saying before, we can go to the A shape. Alright. You can finish with E shape of G as well. You can go to C shape. You go to D shape. That works. And then C shape. So there you go, guys. That would be level 1 for Happy Birthday in the key of G. Stay tuned for the next level.